You guys caught me at a good time. I am at the triple point, not the weather triple point. I am at the triple point of where New Mexico, Colorado, and Oklahoma all meet together. We have been chasing storms multiple days here. Subtle southwest flow over the Dryline in West Texas, the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle has brought supercells day after day. As day 3, tracking those supercells with limited tornado risk, very low tornado risk, but we've been seeing some beautiful storms. But I am eyeing down a day about 5 days from now that looks like it could bring significant severe weather, a severe weather outbreak, possibly even a tornado outbreak in the Central Plains into the Midwest. And I'm going to bring you along on the journey here over the next 5 days, starting today, of what I do when I storm chase, what I look for, how am I tracking these storms, how am I deciding to chase a storm or not. Well, right now we're in peak season, so I'm chasing a lot of stuff. But when things are a little bit more slim pickings, doesn't look like it's going to be a good day to chase, and I live way up in Canada, I'm not necessarily going to chase everything. I'm going to look at forecasts, modeling. I'm going to make decisions based on education and experience and decide if I'm going to chase a storm or not. So I'm going to bring you guys along on that journey, talk about what it takes to chase storms, how to be successful at chasing storms, how to find amazing tornadoes. That's my main goal out here, is find those amazing tornadoes. I'm gonna bring you along, so here we go. This is the next 5 days. We're gonna track down the severe weather on Monday. Today's Thursday, April 24th. So Monday, April 29th. Looks like it could be a big severe weather day. So stay tuned. Now, the reason I'm watching Monday right now is because we're seeing a big trough ejection, the jet stream coming down and ejecting energy all over the central United States, the Midwest, as moisture, warm, moist air races to the north ahead of that storm system to create that warm sector that storms will eventually interact with and use the fuel for storms, supercells, and tornadoes. So we're seeing that that's likely to come together on Monday. Well, that's the big thing. You see a big trough, that means big storms. And of course, our friends at the National Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center, are also seeing this. So this lines up with what we're seeing in the modeling. They are using that same modeling, and they have already painted a enhanced risk area 5 days out for that area. So they are expecting a severe weather outbreak will erupt off ahead of this storm system, the triple point, the low pressure area. We'll see storms there, and then down along a dry line south from that triple point, that low pressure area, see storms erupt there, move off to the east into that warm sector, and possibly be producing tornadoes. Well, hello guys, another day. We had another chase yesterday. We saw a tornado in Miami, Texas at night, a nocturnal tornado. It just barely missed hitting that town. It lifted right before coming into Miami, Texas, but we are 4 days out now, sitting in the canyons here in the Texas Panhandle, and yet again I've got another chase day that I'm chasing today, targeting more supercells and tornadoes. But we're still eyeing that big storm system coming up in about 4 days now, Sunday and Monday. Well, Monday is the big day, 4 days from Monday. What is today? You lose track when you're on the road chasing. Today is Friday. So Saturday, we got another chase day tomorrow, probably in the Texas Panhandle, maybe in New Mexico. And then whenever you have these big trough ejections, a lot of times, and sometimes it can be a better chase setup, is the day before the day. And sometimes the day before the day, well, that would be tomorrow. But the big day, Monday, definitely looks big out to the east, the eastern plains, eastern Kansas, and going into southwestern Iowa, down into even Oklahoma and Texas. So big storm system. And then the day before, we'll be watching a little further to the west. And now we can see that big storm system in the models. We can see it coming. We're looking at the upper level winds here, 500 millibars on the GFS model. And you can see the GFS model shows this big trough coming through the United States, bringing with it that upper level energy, and it's going to come slam into all this moisture. We have significantly high moisture here in the Texas Panhandle right now, so days and days of moisture advancing to the north ahead of the big storm system coming up here at the end of in the weekend and early next week is going to cause big problems in the central United States. Let's take a look at the models now. I'll show you that GFS model a little closer, what I'm looking at.
Seats are currently on sale for our 2027 Storm Chasing Tour. Secure your seat now for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. link in the description.
Excuse the rudimentary setup here, just one phone pointing at another phone, because this is our office. When we're chasing storms, our office is the Great Plains. No matter where it is. Well, it's also this LOL car. But we are looking at the upper level winds here, the 500 millibar winds, and there comes that big trough ejecting across the United States, and bam, that's what we're looking for, are these strong, this is showing the winds, the strong winds aloft coming over the top. You got moisture advecting up to the north into the Great Plains ahead of that storm system, and that energy, that upper level energy, can come ripping across the central plains into the Midwest, and we're likely to be targeting on Monday somewhere there in Iowa down into eastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, northwestern Missouri, somewhere in there. And then the day before, we'll likely be targeting a little further west, the western Great Plains. Now that is just one model, that is the GFS model, but other models are also showing that we're gonna have this big trough ejection. What really it comes down to is the timing, how progressive the low level, the system is, upper level low is, how progressive it is, how far east is it going to get before storms erupt, when peak daytime heating hits. How far is it going to be, more to the west, more to the east? And that will vary on the models, and the north and south where it will actually line up. But all things are looking like it's likely going to be in that, like I mentioned, eastern Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, southwestern Iowa, even up into Minnesota, down all the way down to Texas. So big storm system. We could see supercells and tornadoes all the way from Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the way down south into Texas. So big day coming up. Stay tuned. We'll talk about more tomorrow as we get closer to the day. All right, guys, we are now 3 days away from this big severe weather event that we've been tracking for the last 5-6 days, and it is on Monday. Today is Saturday. We chased again yesterday in the extreme western Texas panhandle. Saw an amazing supercell on a boundary that produced multiple tornadoes. Got some footage of some of those tornadoes. I'll show you guys that here. But we have a rainy day here in Lubbock. This is what it's like being on the road, storm chasing. This is the office now. Instead of being in those beautiful canyons like we were yesterday, we are in a hotel room right now. That is neither here nor there, because we want to talk about this big severe weather event and what we're looking at now. I'm not a meteorologist that's trying to give out a forecast. I'm a storm chaser that uses meteorology to find tornadoes. That's my main goal. I want to find tornadoes. I want to get up close and capture amazing footage of tornadoes. I don't get into the details. I'm a more of a keep it simple, stupid type of guy. What do you need for tornadoes? You need shear, you need lift, you need instability, and you need moisture. And I look for the shear and I look for the moisture. If the storm system's coming, we know there's going to be lift. There's likely going to be instability building out ahead of it. But the things I've found the most helpful for finding tornadoes is tracking the moisture. I like to target noses of the dew points as the dews rise to the north, lift northwards, that create that nose of dews punching into drier air. I like to target areas like that. So I like to keep things simple. So because I like to keep things simple, I generally am not getting too deep into the models and what they're saying and what they're doing in the days leading up to the event. Until the day before the event and the morning of the event, I will start paying attention more of what are the models saying, because things can change so much, especially with these convective allowing models. Things can change so much that there's really no point in looking at a convective model and picking your location, committing to a location to target multiple days in advance. I'll look at it so I know the general area where I'm going to be targeting, but it's getting closer to the event so that I'm really going to start paying attention more to those models. They're picking up on boundaries and other things that they just don't know about multiple days in advance until maybe the morning of. Because of that, I take it with a grain of salt, those models. I'm not picking like, okay, I'm going to go target Peoria, Illinois, because that's where the tornado is going to happen 4 days out. That doesn't happen, right? So day 3 at night at the 00Z hour, we get updated runs of my favorite models, that HRRR. And it's on day 3, which is going to end up being about 48 hours from when the event is going to happen. And you can now see the convection allowing model showing what's going to happen during that time frame that you're going to be chasing. So that's the first time I'm really getting interested in modeling, is that 48 hours from an event and looking at the HRRR, looking at the RRFSA, looking at other models. And now here we are. So we're day 3. I'm not going to look too much into the models right now. I'll look a little bit to see what they're saying in the hours leading up to when the event's going to happen, because that could be interesting to see if, are we going to, what is the timing looking like for a storm system. But tonight is when I'm really going to start digging into the models more. And then tomorrow, of course, really digging into those models. And then we'll get to the morning of, we'll look at models again, but that's when we switch to more of a surface observations chasing method. So instead of looking at models, because we don't really care about the models necessarily at that point, we're still going to care about the models and look at what they're saying. But what really matters the most are surface observations. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for day 2. All right, guys. Well, it is day 2 from our big event that we've been tracking, which means our big event is not in 2 days, it's tomorrow. This is day 2, tomorrow's day 1, and I do day 2, day 1. That's what the Storm Prediction Center does. And we are still on track for this big storm system to come through. The Storm Prediction Center still has a moderate risk for that severe weather, likely severe weather tornado outbreak out in the central plains into the Midwest. So east of where we're at right now, which is in northwestern Kansas, and we are sitting along a dry line here. You can see this dry line. You can see storms trying to develop here already. We got some towers trying to go up. It's just starting now. Go up along a dry line here in western Kansas. Very windy out there. My dog is out getting some exercise, but all the way down the dry line, all the way down to Texas, and then north up into Nebraska, we have the potential for severe weather this afternoon. So we are tracking this storm system today, and this is the beginnings of our storm system tomorrow. This is the first energy from that storm system ejecting out across the central plains, southern plains, even up into the northern plains there a little bit, South Dakota. So this is our storm system. It's coming. The surface low is going to develop here over northeastern Colorado, just off to our northwest here. Surface low is developing. We got the dry line, and we're going to get these storms here today. Yesterday we were still down in New Mexico chasing storms down there. Saw one tornado down there. So we're going to chase this setup today, and then this is a carryover. The system then ejects again tomorrow a little bit further to the east, which is where we're going to head. And so let's take a look at what we're seeing right now for tomorrow out there for the big event. So one thing we're going to notice here is that one of our favorite models we use, the HRRR model, is failing to actually convect storms today where we're at right now in western Kansas, and again tomorrow in the danger zone further to the east tomorrow. But one of our models is not very helpful right now. You can see nothing firing here in western Kansas and the Texas Panhandle and Nebraska. Nothing really happening. This is a carry on overnight that we're going to get into tomorrow. And there goes our system ejecting. Actually, some storms fire down there in Oklahoma. It looked like on some kind of boundary down there. But other than that, there's not really any storms. So what does that mean? Well, we know a big storm system is coming. I'm here in western Kansas because I think storms are going to initiate. We're going to have some storms here. We got a dry line, we got moisture, we got instability, we got this storm system, this trough ejecting out over the next 2 days. We got a surface low forming in northeast Colorado. Like, I would be shocked if we don't get a storm somewhere along the dry line from where we're at in Nebraska down to Texas. There should be at least a few supercells this afternoon. So I don't think the models are really handling this storm system very well right now. So we're going to have to look at surface observations. So one of the reasons I'm at right now here in western Kansas, northwestern Kansas, is I'm relatively close to the surface low. It's a little further up. If you want to play the surface low play, you should be up in Nebraska probably right now, which I still have an option. I could still go north right now and go to Nebraska. Or you might want to go a little south. I'm watching to the south as well. But I think right here, because we got 62, 63 dews coming up right to where we're at right now, kind of a nose of higher moisture coming in right into this area. I think it could happen right here in this area. So I'm going to wait here for a little while, and we're going to watch and see how things evolve. And this is actually leading up and going to play into our decisions that we make tomorrow. How do the models handle this storm system today versus what they're showing for tomorrow? And we may not even be looking at any models at all today or tomorrow for the storm system and just going on meteorology and surface observations. So we'll have to dive into that tomorrow morning when we are on the day of the big event. And then here real quick, we're going to look at another model, just so we're not looking at one model, the NOM 3KM. Convects a little bit more here in western Kansas and the Texas Panhandle, but not significantly. And then again, tomorrow, the same thing, a little bit of convection there in the danger zone area that we're targeting there, right there in Iowa, kind of targeting that Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska area. So just another example of another model. Here comes our big storm, upper level low. They're spinning, coming through, ejecting out this energy to create our storm system. And now here's another model, the RRFSA, to look at today so we know which model we maybe want to use for tomorrow to help us out. The RRFSA is the new model that's coming out to take over for the HRRR eventually. It actually is going to fire some storms here in Northwest, bam, right there, Northwest Kansas and Nebraska, right where we're at. So we're going to see, is that going to happen? Is it right? Is it no? Bam, right there. Is it going to produce storms? Is this atmosphere right here going to produce some storms like that model says? If it does, then we know we're going to pay attention to the RRFSA tomorrow. All right, guys, well, that's the discussion today for day 2, the day before the day, and we'll be back tomorrow, the day of the day, to look at surface observations, what we're seeing in modeling, where we're targeting, why we're targeting, how we're targeting, what we're looking at, up until the point of hopefully bagging some tornadoes in open terrain where there's no buildings or homes or anything that can be destroyed. All right, guys, we'll see you later. All right, guys, the day we have been talking about for the past week has finally arrived. We are here on day 1, the big event, this monster storm system coming through the central United States, all the way down in the southern plains, into the Midwest, is right on our doorstep right here. So let's go ahead and just dive in and take a look at what we're seeing this morning. And this is what I'll typically do on a chase day. Start looking at data, surface observations, models, what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking, and coming up with a game plan. And I've already got a game plan in my head. I've already figured out what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna walk you guys through what I look at. And I will have to say, I'm a little off schedule right now because we chased a monster family of supercells. It just kept producing more supercells. Handoff to a new supercell in western Nebraska last night. It produced dozens of tornadoes. In fact, large wedge tornadoes. We saw a couple of very large tornadoes fortunately out in the Nebraska sandhills where there's no one lives. So it didn't cause any damage or anything out there. We chased that storm until midnight last night, from Hyannis, Nebraska, all the way to Valentine, Nebraska. And now we are in Sioux City, Iowa. So what does that mean? Where are we at for today's chase? Well, let's take a look at where we're at in comparison to what's going on. So first thing we're going to look at this morning is the surface observations, surface analysis that's going on. This is the College of DuPage website. I like to use their surface analysis map. You can see these greens are showing the moisture. Moisture is streaming north. And already, I was looking earlier, we have mid-60s dews coming all the way into Iowa, all the way into Minnesota already. This red line here is the warm front. Now, it's expected that this warm front is going to move to the east, northeast, and kind of turn itself to the north, lifting up to the north into Minnesota. And this warm front is going to be a focus for storms later today across central Minnesota into northern Iowa, northern central Iowa. But as it lifts north, wherever this warm front sets up, that's going to be a potential focal point for storms. Between the cold front, this blue line, the red line, the warm front, you've got a broadening open warm sector that's going to be forming here out over Iowa. So we could see storms potentially fire anywhere in Iowa out ahead of the cold front and the dry line in the open warm sector, which will be also south of the warm front. So warm front, focal point, south into the open warm sector, we're gonna be watching for storms. Now we see we got the dry line here. Here's the moisture and then the green ends, and as you go to the west, you get into the dry air. That's the dry line. We could see supercells potentially fire on this dry line today and then move east into the open warm sector. Now any storm that's gonna form out here in this open warm sector is going to pose a threat for all hazards, large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. Now, the third scenario that could happen is that we get a line that forms along this cold front, marches off to the east, and we get storms firing out ahead of that cold front as it marches off to the east. Supercells firing, and they move north rapidly into the cold front, but they could produce tornadoes as they move north and then get overtaken by the cold front. So we'll be watching for that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the model. So yesterday was a bust down in Kansas. We were watching for storms down in Kansas. We never got any storms down in Kansas. We made a call early that there was going to be a bust in Kansas, and thankfully started moving north in Nebraska and made it in time for those storms. So that means that the HRRR is actually somewhat kind of dialed in on this storm system. It showed no storms, and sure enough, there were no storms. So what is the HRRR showing us this morning? Well, we take a step back here. I was a little ahead. Here is what it says is happening right now. It says right now it's raining up in Minnesota, up in eastern South Dakota. Got rain up here. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look at radar and see if that's what's going on. Well, when we open up our radar, there is a little bit of rain up there. A little bit in Minnesota, Wisconsin, but Nothing really happening in eastern South Dakota. Already some storms maybe trying to go up in Iowa. Right there. We're way up here in this area. HRRR is not really that dialed in with what's going on. All right, well, let's advance it and see what it says is going to happen today. Well, we know that those storms aren't happening in South Dakota. Shows some storms coming through Iowa. And then late, a second round fires here in northern Iowa. So maybe this is the scenario that's going to play out. Maybe we're going to get some storms here in northern Iowa. This is where the Storm Prediction Center has issued their moderate risk. Let's take a look at that. So there's what the Storm Prediction Center is saying is going to happen today. They think the worst storms are going to be in this moderate risk in south central Minnesota, western Wisconsin, northeastern Iowa, and of course all the way down into the Lincoln, Omaha, anywhere in this area. We could potentially see supercells producing tornadoes, but sounds like the highest likely area to see those storms are going to be in this red moderate risk. And we find ourselves right here on the western fringe of that enhanced, that slight risk. That actually looks like they've expanded it back to the west towards Valentine. So what do we do? Well, we've got several scenarios here to watch out for. We got to watch out for open warm sector storms. We got to watch out for warm front storms. We got to watch out for dry line storms, or we got to watch out for storms that are ahead of the cold front forming and going into a line. So that tells me that, well, one, there's a little bit of uncertainty what to do here. So in that case, when there's uncertainty, I'm going to give myself some breathing room on storms. My plan is to head back east a little bit, away from the dry line. So leaving where storms might actually happen, back to the east, because I know that those storms do fire off to the west on the dry line. I'll easily be able to get into position for them if I'm well east of them. If I'm on the dry line waiting for storms to fire there and I've committed to that target, and we get storms firing in the open warm sector or the warm front, I'm going to be way too far west to be able to chase those storms. If I hedge east a little bit, I keep those storms in play, and I of course keep the dry line in play. Whatever happens today, there will be storms that fire along the cold front, the dry line area, the triple point that's going to be coming through this area here over the next few hours. So we're going to see a storm. It's just a matter of making sure we get on the best storm possible. So that's our plan for right now. We've looked at some initial data. We've made some initial decisions. I think we need to move a little east, give ourselves some breathing room. And then we're going to continue to watch observations today during the day, surface observations. Continue to watch radar, most importantly. We'll be having a radar on, watching for echo tops. So this is going to go into the next little kind of mini sub-lesson here of this whole module. When I am waiting for storms to fire and I'm watching, I'm not sure where they're going to fire, but I'm waiting for them to fire. I'm actually watching the echo, I'm watching visible satellite, because visible satellite is going to show me a storm beginning to grow before it's a storm. And then I'm going to watch the echo tops. The echo tops is going to tell me of anything that's starting to form, what is the strongest updraft that is trying to go up right now by seeing those echo tops in the radar. So, all right, guys, let's go get loaded out of this hotel, load up the car, and let's head to the east a little bit into Iowa. Guys, we are just tracking east here, just to Sioux City, Iowa, east of Sioux City, Iowa, moving eastern to Iowa. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking at right now as we're driving east. So we're looking at visible satellite. One of the things I was noticing is this CU down here, these storms trying to get going down here to our southeast. And if you take a look at radar, there they are on radar. So don't know if those things are going to do anything yet. Those could become open warm sector storms. So we're making our way east here. We could intercept these guys as they come up to the east here. Sioux City, we're headed towards Storm Lake area. These little cells popping coming up. So we'll see. We're going to head east, see if those things do anything. You also see the Storm Prediction Center has just now put a meso discussion up here. We can see what they're saying about this storm right now. They're saying a severe potential watch is possible. 60% chance of a watch. Looking for isolated convection in eastern South Dakota, into southwest Minnesota, northwest Iowa, and possibly northeast Nebraska. Tornado risk could increase with time in eastern extent. Areas being monitored for possible watches is shown. So that's not really our target zone. It's a little further north. Our low pressure system is probably like, center of the low is probably around in here somewhere. So that's actually north. This is probably north of the warm front. We looked at that surface observation earlier, and the warm front's like draped across here. So cooler air up there. So more of an elevated storm chance. But as that warm front lifts north, any storm that fires in here will move into a increasingly better environment. But But we have a nice warm sector about to form here off to the east. These cells trying to percolate, come up. The one thing that's gonna inhibit storms today, but it may not matter because we have such a potent storm system. Look how cloudy it is out over the warm sector. Very cloudy over Iowa, milky. We'll see if this can clear out some. If this stuff doesn't do anything, then the next thing we're gonna be watching for is this to clear out, sun to bake this area with the dry line moving east and storms to fire out here in central Iowa after this possibly failed storm mode moves off to the east, northeast here over the next couple hours. All right, we're gonna go east, heading east. All right, we've moved a little east to Sioux City, out more towards central Iowa, and you can see here there's some storms starting to fire along the dry line, cold front area, off to our northwest, and look at this nice clearing here off to our west-northwest coming into Minnesota. So I'm thinking we're gonna have storms here, possibly tornadic storms here in the next 1 to 2 hours, maybe a little earlier than expected. And if we look at radar, we can see those storms. Here are those storms on reflectivity. You can see up to our northwest, and the Storm Prediction Center has also issued a tornado watch up here. So we're moving north here. We're gonna see if we're gonna try and look for tornadoes right out in this area here over the next 1 to 2 hours, maybe a little further north, right along the Iowa-Minnesota border here. All right, guys, we are indeed gonna turn to the north now into Minnesota, go after these storms I just showed you on radar. They are continuing to intensify. One is severe warned, moving off to the east, northeast into Minnesota. So we're gonna move up into Minnesota and track these storms, watching the tail end, Charlie, of the line to see if we can't pick up a dominant supercell that turns to the right, to the east, into this open warm sector. So here we go. Chase is on, guys. From here on out, it's mostly going to be observations on radar, and once we get close enough to a storm that we want to track, we're just going to use our eyes and track the storm and learn about storm structure and where to find the tornado in the storm, where to position yourself. But we like to get close, so we'll see how that goes. You might not want to get as close as I do.
Seats are now available for our 2027 Storm Chasing Tour. It's 8 full days of storm chasing, and we have payment plans that will fit any budget. The coaches on this tour are Trey Greenwood, Cameron Nixon, Kyle Gillette, and Hunter folks. It is a lineup filled with absolute all-stars, and if you've ever wanted to go out storm chasing but you're not quite sure, or if you're just looking for a once-in-a-lifetime experience, this is definitely something you'll want to check out. Click the link in the description below for more information, and if you have any questions, you can either hit us up on our Discord server, that link's in the description as well, or you can click the contact button in the top right-hand corner on our website. We'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you all very much, and I hope to see you out there.
Well, guys, we've been tracking these storms for a couple of hours now. In southwest Minnesota, we are on that line. We dropped down off that line, down into northern Iowa, tracked the supercell that came up. Discrete supercell on its own, so we dropped down to get on that storm. I haven't seen any tornadoes yet. Now we've got the storms back to our, right off back behind us here. It is tornado warned over my shoulder, left shoulder there. We are blasting out to the east right now to get it well ahead of the storm. It's moving quite quickly to the northeast. probably about 45, 50 miles an hour. So we're gonna blast way east, out ahead of it, and then to the north, so we can get back into position out in front of the storm here in about the next hour or so. The storms are still going, but I think they're still early yet, so shouldn't be lulled to sleep thinking that this day is done or anything like that. We have the low-level jet that will ramp up at sunset, and that could also help kick off more tornadoes on some of these supercells. There's our storm off to the north, tornado warned right now, moving rapidly off to the northeast. We're on I-90 racing to get ahead of it, and then we'll shoot up north. Now we're going north back into its path. You can see, you can't even see the base anymore. We've gotten out enough ahead of it. You can't see the structure of the storm through the haze. Just a milky looking view, but that'll change here shortly as the storm gets closer. And we're going to turn to the northwest here in just a minute. You can tell it's already getting undercut by cold air. That's why it looks so ragged. Well, guys, it is looking like the tornado potential today is not going to work out. This is where we've been chasing. Off to our northeast, we've been tracking these storms all day, all through the afternoon. They're racing off to the northeast, but they're all struggling with what appears to be outflow problems. They're getting undercut by cold air that's gushing out of the storms as they race off to the northeast, pushes cold air to the south, and it just keeps undercutting the storms down the line. You can actually see how this is coming out here. This is kind of where the cold air is gushing out. We've got westerlies right here blasting us with westerlies. So we want to get south of this. We're going to drop south into the warm sector, the warm air where southerlies are streaming up to meet these storms, and see if we can't get something to fire off to the southwest here as late this evening, this late afternoon into this evening. Maybe get a little supercell produces a tornado. Maybe especially as that low level jet cranks up though, could cause some of these storms to push back on that outflow and actually be able to start rotating and ingesting warm air again and potentially produce a tornado. But right now things are not looking good for a tornado intercept, and sometimes these big days are not the best days to chase tornadoes. It's the days that have a lower risk, maybe less storms, but so they might not have the big risk there, but you get one good storm, that's all it takes. Like yesterday in the Nebraska Sandhills, one storm just produced a dozen tornadoes. So we'll see. We're gonna drop south. Well, guys, we did have a storm that briefly went tornado warned as we dropped south down towards Des Moines. It was a little LP, low precipitation supercell, briefly tornado warned. By the time we got to it, it had already died, so I didn't even shoot any video of it. And that just goes to show that, as I mentioned, sometimes the best days to chase are those days leading up to the big day. And sometimes you need to not just chase a single day, you need to chase a pattern. And that's something you start to do more as you get deeper into the spring, late into spring and into the summer. I start chasing more of patterns rather than single days. You chase a pattern, you have multiple days there of potential storms. That just increases your chances of seeing a tornado. But I want to thank you guys for coming along on this coaching session, and we'll try it again. See you guys out there in the field tracking down tornadoes.
Remember to check out those links in the description below, and then watch another video.